Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. Let's get started with our hosts, Linda McKissick and Dana Gentry.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. I'm Linda McKissick.
And I'm Dana Gentry.
Hey, Dana, how are you doing?
I am doing good, laughing at ourselves that we just recorded an episode and didn't record the audio.
Yep, that would be us. That's why everybody should tune in when we do our podcast on how to do a podcast, right? Because of all that we've learned that we can save you from learning the hard way.
Very true. Very true. This one will just be even better, I'm sure.
There was stuff I already forgot that I should have mentioned that I didn't. So we're going to talk today about a topic that is super relevant in the real estate industry right now. And that is, what the heck do you do with this short supply of listings that are in the marketplace? So now I've been in the process of interviewing top agents to update a listing course that I've been teaching for years on how to take 10 plus listings a month forever. And you also did a panel of top producers, and you said the number one topic of conversation was listings. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, perfect. So I interviewed 3 top agents. They were so great. One, Cindy Shetterly, runs a big team in Kentucky. Jeff Mahler is a top individual agent at almost $1 million GCI as an individual in Columbus, Ohio. And then Jordan Moody runs a top team in Indianapolis. So it was kind of cool because they were from all 3 different places and had a big group, a team, and an individual. And listings was definitely the topic of conversation. A lot of people were on the panel, a lot of people in the audience, were asking, what are they doing to get listings, and what experiences are they providing for their sellers, and how are their lead sources changing, and all of those different types of things. And it was interesting. We started with them sharing in Columbus, listings are down 71%, in Indianapolis, 57%, and in Kentucky, 49%. So that's a big drop.
Yeah.
Compared to last year.
And you start thinking about how many realtors are out there. That's a lot less listings than there are realtors.
Definitely. Yes, definitely. So it was interesting to just kind of hear some of the ways that they've pivoted and completely changed how they're doing business. And this is a point that I didn't share on the recording that didn't record, that I just remembered for this one, which was, so one of the questions I asked them was, how did you guys pivot and change your business during the pandemic? And all 3 of them said, honestly, we're pivoting our business more now this year, right now in 2021, because of the listing shortage, than we even did when the pandemic hit last year. They said, we thought last year was the year of pivot and change. And all 3 of them said, but right now we're changing more than we ever have. And I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, so true. The shortage of supply has caused them to pivot more than not being able to be in the room with a person. And, something that's interesting that I think has caused them to have to figure out creative ways to give better service to sellers is because you're spending less time.
Yeah.
And their houses are selling faster. You don't have time to really bond and solidify that relationship. So, I remember NAR statistics from years ago where most people couldn't even remember the agent that they'd used before. So imagine adding on top of it, now you don't really get to be with them that much, and you're not having to spend as much time with them because their house is selling so fast.
Yep.
It would become even more of a statistic than in the past.
Yeah.
So what I found with some of the people that I interviewed was they're having to figure out, how do I become the expert, period? And how do I have other topics that I am the person that they go to, like refi, home remodeling,
investing,
anything, like you said, anything, staging, anything where you just got to get in that relationship, because I think you no longer can wait, just touch people occasionally in your database. And then when they buy or sell, get ready to sell in 7 years, your name is going to automatically jump to the top of their list.
Yeah, totally agree. That was
stay in relationship all those 7 years now.
Yeah. that was probably, I would say the big things that came from me talking to these three super great producers were, number one, how and how often are they really touching their database right now? Number two is how are they dealing with discount brokerages? And number three was, what are they doing different? What experiences are they providing? How are they thinking outside of the box? And the Sphere one was huge. All their main source was still Sphere for the most part.
So the things that they're doing that in your mind makes their database to be a good database, was there things that came up regarding their database? Because database tends to always be number one. It was with my people also.
Yep. They are touching the fire out of them. I mean, more than they ever have in the past. Jordan Moody shared that their Facebook messaging for giveaways, they've been doing a ton of giveaways. I know you're going to talk about giveaways too. He said that he's sent a direct message to 1,300 people in his database about the giveaway, and they had, I don't remember how many referrals they received, but it was quite a few. He's sending the golden text to everybody in his database that they have phone numbers for, which is just, would you sell your home to our buyers? And he said that, I said, what do they respond? And he said he gets a higher response rate on that text than anything else that he ever sends. And mostly they just say, do you really have a buyer? What's the price? And then he'll say, yeah, we have a ton of buyers actually.
This kind of reminds me a little bit, Dana, and I'm going to divert here a little bit, but you and I have been talking about this a lot in our communication. And one of the things that Dean Jackson, that was on our podcast, I don't even know how many episodes ago, a long time ago, he talked about, how when you send someone a message, you want to think, if this person got this at a restaurant and they were at a restaurant with their friend and their friend just went to the bathroom, they could answer it very quickly. And this actually plays into that also. Yep. It's so interesting to this point. My assistant the other day, we were trying to get a receiving company to talk to us because I want them to be the receiving company for all my furniture in Branson that we order for the new cabins that we're building. And we're building like 4 at a time, and we'll build 12 total. And so this is a big deal. I need to have a receiving company that will work with me the way I need them to work with me. So I said, here's one that I've used in the past that I really like. Let's try to set up a call with them. Well, when she called them, they said, hey, send us an email. So she sends them an email, and then she doesn't hear back for days. And I told her on her 4x4, which is how you tell your team how to work with you, what drives you crazy, how to be a hero, what they're responsible for, all that stuff. And one of the things I say on there is, if something goes into a black hole, I start making up stories. And so you can't let things go into a black hole. You have to keep me in the loop, especially if it's something that's not working, because my unique ability, one of them is I can figure out how to make something keep moving and work. So it's funny. She said to me, I can't get them to respond. And I immediately would just responded with, I tell you what you do, send them an email, and in the subject line, put, do you want my business or not? Now that's what I said to say. Sarah's so sweet. She softened it a little bit, but it still worked. She got a reply instantly.
Wow.
I think when you do these kind of text and things like that, do it as if you're having a conversation with someone and asking them a question, and people feel immediately obligated to respond with some answer. So I love that.
That's exactly what he said. That's another just great example of and I remember Dean, gosh, that was Dean's episode was, I think, like our number 3 most listened to episode of all times, by the way. So if you didn't listen to that episode, we can link it and you should 100% go back and listen to it. That might be the episode I've taken the most notes on of anybody that we've had. He was so good. But that's why Jordan said that just that one sentence is getting a response. The other thing that he said that I thought was great, anytime he said he's driving to an appointment or, out to dinner or wherever they're going, and he sees a house that's for rent, he's calling and just saying, hey, I know that you said your house is for rent, but would you by any way think of selling your house? I've got a buyer right now that is looking, and it would be perfect, for them. And he said that, he's not necessarily, he'd love to get them and get to sell the house, kind of like a FSBO. But he said more than anything, they really do have buyers, just like most of us do, that we can't find houses for. And so for the right price, who knows? Actually, I was thinking there's a house in our neighborhood, and my mom is getting ready to move, and it's a rental, and the guy that's renting it told Adam that when their lease is up, they were moving out. So Adam called him and said, "Hey, would you be interested in selling your house? We have a family member that's looking." And he said, "No, I'm not really interested." And Adam said, "Well, let me ask you a different question. At what price would you sell your house for?" And he said 850, which is probably about 100 to 200-ish higher than maybe not, but higher. And he said, but at least he threw out a price. I mean, and somebody may be willing to pay that. Who knows? But you just never know until you ask.
Yeah. One thing that jumps out at me with this also is if you look at your database and you don't have their cell phone numbers, you're not gonna be able to text them.
Yeah.
And think about how, I think it was Family Reunion last year when they did the surveys of all the top producers database and how little they had the complete information.
Yeah.
So if you listen to this, one of the first place you might start is go back and say, what kind of campaign could I do that I could call all of my database, which by the way, always looking for reasons to call, and get their cell phone numbers because you couldn't do this text program unless you had it.
Yeah, very true. Yeah. And
because we own so many rent houses, I think I get these texts a lot from agents. I've noticed if they don't sound like they're actually kind of personalized to me, not that I'm going to respond anyway, but they don't land as well. So you really have, that they're like blanket.
Yep.
They don't know anything about my house, so I'm just trying to pay attention to which one of those texts do I kind of think, well, if I wasn't in real estate or didn't have a bajillion realtors that work in my companies, I would probably respond to this.
I laugh because I have so many realtors that somehow I must be in their database or in their drip. And I'm getting these texts all the time. Hey, are you looking to buy or sell a house? I'm like, I am a realtor. And they still over and over, One of the other things I know you and I both got from people was really going back for listings, networking the agent to agent referral business. Yeah. And that is do you want to share about yours, and then I'll share about Cindy?
Yeah. I mean, this was the most shocking bit of information to me. And I remember when I was back coaching with Gary, one of the things he would always point out to me is that, I'm probably was losing a lot of money not having some kind of system around asking to refer people. But I think we're now with technology getting to a place, I know with the Kelly app, with the referral app, you can actually figure out where those locations are that are moving to your city. And that's what at least a couple of the top agents said. They put a whole system around that. One of them, I loved Lee Hart's idea. She actually sends them like what's working for her to get listings, and she will share that with the other agents. Well, I can promise you, if somebody was doing that for me and I had a referral, they'd be getting my referral because I'd want to keep getting those tips. So that was a great idea, I thought. And then the next one was, sending a book or, just staying in communication and building that relationship even deeper. So my thoughts on that were how important it was to be in a network of organization where you have access to a lot of agents, right? Because they couldn't do this if they didn't have a big database of a ton of agents. And I asked them if they had started those relationships back when we were doing in-person family reunions and mega camps and things like that. I remember Mary Harker years ago, majority of her business, of course, Plano is a huge referral city, I want to say it was like 30 or 40% of her business was referrals. And she literally went to conventions and did nothing but work that group of people for referrals.
People are moving, with COVID, people are moving all across the country.
Oh yeah. Family, moving close to your family is important. Moving out where it's rural or, there's a lake or any of those things. Absolutely. People are definitely moving more than ever. COVID has made them rethink their whole lives, where I live, what I do, all that stuff.
We made actually agent to agent referrals one of the three in our 135 for our team this year, just because we're getting in front of so many realtors all the time now that we want them to think of us when they think about moving or know somebody that's moving to Kentucky. And I was just going over numbers with Sarah, and we've had 11 year to date But I was blown away because Cindy Shetterly said she's had 26 agent referrals of people moving to Cincinnati or Northern Kentucky this year already. And
Right.
yeah, I mean, it's a big opportunity for sure. One of the other things we talked a lot about on this panel for getting listings is getting referrals from your current listings. And another thing that Cindy really shared that I told you I just loved so much, she's working on ways to just create an experience and to think outside of the box. And she started a staging company. So she just is overcoming any objection. But the other thing is for every seller that they have, every time their house goes under contract, their assistant, they have a system and they automatically Amazon them 20 moving boxes, tape, bubble wrap, and labels, sticker labels or whatever for their house. And she said that it's just been such a good experience for her sellers and they love it. And so she said, they don't do all of them. They just do 20 boxes to get them started. But it says like, this is your getting started, list or you're getting started. Congratulations that now we're under contract. And so she said that she's been receiving more seller referrals like while their house is listed or during the process, because she's just really honing in on that experience for them. And, that's something we've heard Gary talk about for the last 2 years. Is figuring out how you can provide more of an experience to your clients.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, again, more than ever, because you don't get much time with them if they're selling so quickly. So you got to extend it beyond the sale. One thing on the people that did giveaways, there was couple of the top agents that did giveaways. She said what she does is quarterly, she gives them something of what she decides to give away is something that they would want, but they won't buy for themselves. So that's why she chose a Peloton. I'm like, girl, I would be so far all over that Peloton.
I love it.
She says she has them fill out a form online, name, phone number, email. So any information you might be missing, this would be a great way to get it. And if they like to get bonus entries, then they connect us with someone who is ready to buy or sell their home.
That's the best idea.
Yeah. And I can't remember what Peter gave away, but I think he emulated, maybe he had heard Lee's, or I don't know, maybe their MAPS coaches are giving them these ideas because a lot of them are using the same ideas. But when I ask how often are you communicating with the database, it's quarterly phone calls on their birthday, call at the beginning of the year to ask for referrals, other 2 calls just to check in and build the relationship, a monthly or quarterly printed newsletter, market update. Kenny Klaus from Phoenix hides something in the newsletter that people have to find.
That's cool.
They email in to get a gift card. Oh, one thing that's Lee did that was so interesting, and of course I had to ask her, how does someone ever violate this? But she sends out I guess she sends to them a QR code for a Starbucks. And there's $50 on, I guess, the QR code. And I said, well, don't you ever worry that somebody's going to go use the whole $50? She goes, no, actually, nobody's done that.
Yeah, I've done that before.
Get a coffee here and there. So that was another cool idea. The other thing is 2 videos per month via email. A lot of people are doing videos to communicate. Yeah. The videos are hot. They're important, and I always say the formula of R plus V over T. Yeah. Part of that the first V is validity. And one of the best ways to get validity is to be a communicator through some type of video or something where you're giving information and teaching and helping. Monthly emails like listing solds, real estate reels, restaurant reviews, call to action, hiring and listing, and then 2 client events per year. Those are kind of a summary of kind of what we saw.
Yeah. And I do think we're getting more back into client events. I do think that you can do them in smaller groups, but I'm seeing a lot of agents in my market centers are getting back, then they're doing them and people are showing up.
Yeah. And, I also wonder, this is just kind of me thinking, we moved into this new condo because our house got flooded in the Texas 100-year ice storm. So the good news is we're in a condo now that I've been wanting to try out. And so in this condo area, there's all these restaurants. So this week, we've gone to like 3 of them. What I've noticed is all 3 of them, none of them had any mask on, not the servers. Now we're in Texas, so we're the Wild Wild West. So don't nobody freak out. But I'm wondering if, because I know for myself, there's been times when I've tried to do business with somebody and I kind of felt like they were just using COVID as a way to be lazy or to not do something, not add a service that they needed. I don't know, maybe that was just me, but I'm beginning to wonder if some people aren't more anxious to get out and do like our leadership academy. They all seem happy to be in a group of 20 people, whatever it is, whatever our number, and get out and communicate with people. And of course we're being conscious and we're honoring anybody who doesn't want to be touched or, and stuff like that. But I'm just wondering if maybe some of those might be more effective just because, I always believe whatever everybody else is doing, try to go a different way a little bit. That would definitely be a little bit way to try test some small group events.
Yeah. Our Indiana office had a mastermind this week and 41 people showed up in the training room.
Yeah.
I mean, they're ready to get back, to it. And for those that aren't, that's okay, because we'll make it available on Zoom, I mean, I think you have to kind of think both ways. Before we wrap up, do you want to let's touch on the discount brokerages, because I know for a lot of people right now getting listings, they're going and they're competing with a lot of new competition. It's not like the old competitive traditional brokerage down the street that they're competing with anymore. It's completely different now with these discount brokerages. Yeah,
a lot of the top agents I interviewed were on extreme coast, and I always think everything starts on the extreme coast and moves in. So mine in your 3 states are Ohio, Indiana, and Kentucky. Of course, I'm in Texas, so I think we also get things first. But their competition is now things like iBuyers and stuff like that. So one of the things when I was doing this process of interviewing people is because I'm updating my listing course, I wanted to see how much things have changed. And what I've discovered is things really haven't changed, just the tools to do it has changed. In other words, we didn't have the ability to text everybody, when we were doing different means to reach people. So that was, interesting, because I think, the fact that you have to communicate is the same, but the way you do it has changed a little bit. So the people that I interviewed, they're up against iBuyers and things like that. And Kenny out in Arizona said, I evaluate it. And if I really believe the iBuyer is the best way, then I'm the person that gets in the middle of that transaction. And what I hate about that part is that means he probably doesn't get anything on the sale, but he gets something when they go to list it. He's guaranteed the listing. So I hate that, because again, we're seeing what Gary has said could happen is there are people that are trying to get in the middle of the commission. And so there was more objections and things like that. And so having guaranteed sales yourself, I mean, we've always had that. I have a line of credit. We always use it. We send out postcards to people to say, we'll buy your home for cash, quick sale. And what that usually gets us is about the same percentage of people that do want us to buy it, and then the percentage of people that just want us to list it, because we go out both ways to them. So I think you're going to be forced to figure out solutions to the objections. The other objection that everybody said they're getting is, where am I going to go? If I sell my house, where am I going to go? And so I love your guys' solution to that. And I think because hotels are really struggling right now, especially these extended stays in places like that, you don't have the business traveler. You could go really help a local business out by creating some kind of solution for them.
Yeah, so I'll share that. There were 2 really good ideas. So one was exactly what you're talking about. Jeff Mahler said he has a client who owns all the extended stays in Columbus. And so he's worked out a great deal with him that if somebody comes along and, he sells their house really fast, or they don't have anywhere to go, or, whatever, it's a client or whatever that looks like, he already just has them rolled right in a spot for them, and they're completely taken care of. And that's a great experience for him to give to people. I mean, to know, hey, if something happens and I'm out on the street, I'm not out on the street if Jeff's my agent. So I think that is awesome. And then Jordan mentioned in regards to kind of what you were talking about with the line of credit, that 21% of his business was investors last year. And so he said, Allie and I had to become investors. And so being in the real estate business for 5 years, they already have rental property, which is awesome. And he said, now we're getting to the point where when we go and we're competing with somebody who may come in and buy their house, then we want we want to be able to buy their house and figure out if it makes financial sense for us to keep it as a rental or flip it or, something like that. But he said, we're just trying to position ourselves. We won't be able to do it on everyone. But he said on some of them, we want to get in the position that we can, which I thought was another just being super creative as our industry is changing constantly.
Yeah, you listen to the objections. And I always say, look, if you go on a listing presentation and you don't have an answer to any objection that they have, your very first homework is to go back and figure out what is your solution to that objection.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
getting it over and over, it's not going to be a one-off.
No. And then I shared with them the story that we've heard, but what Gary says is, you have to get really good at setting expectations and defending your commission. And he said, if you had a tooth that was aching and you were driving down the road and you saw a billboard that said pulling teeth this month for $2.99 a tooth, would that be the dentist you would call? Probably not. And so he said, you have to think about that with your clients and be able to relate and communicate to them and defend your commission by the value that you have. He said, of course you would never want to pay a dentist $2.99 to pull a tooth. You'd want to you wouldn't care how much it costs because you want to make sure it's the best and you're comfortable and you have the best experience and you don't come out, with more than one tooth pulled or who knows what. And so I think we have to think about that as real estate agents in regards to the discount brokerages and being able to, in a, classy, nice way, relate that to our clients of, you're going to pay for what you get. So if you want to take your own pictures and do all your own work and not have anybody to help you, then that might be a good route for you to go. But when you're making a largest financial decision of your life, you need a professional and somebody who's going to take care of you the whole time.
Absolutely. That reminds me, speaking of dentists, now, and even like dentists are having to upgrade their services because there's so many dentists, you could pick any one, right? And so I was with my genetics doctor this week and she was telling me about a dentist. I need something, I've got an implant going in the back. And so I've been thinking I don't really want to go back to my dentist because I feel like he's up to date on some things, but I don't feel like he's like forward thinking, and I want a forward thinking person. So she tells me about a person that uses ozone on their whole they're not transaction, but procedure.
Yeah.
And so, okay, I want that because it's supposed to be better healing and more route. And I'm thinking, you know what? Dentists are having to do the same thing realtors are. They're having to upgrade what their service looks like so that they're the forward thinking realtor. They're the person. And you said Cindy even had like a staging company. They're having to think of things outside the box that separates them from the rest.
Yep. Yeah. I think, Linda, that's a great note to end on. I mean, if you're a real estate agent listening to this podcast or a business owner, I mean, really for that matter, and you aren't constantly innovating and thinking of ways that you can change and be forward thinking and provide a better experience, then you're probably already a little bit behind the 8 ball, honestly.
Yeah. You have to think about it in the form of service, and you have to think about it in the form of how do I reach people before they raise the hand to the public.
Yeah.
So what are the ways I can be in relationship with enough other people that I'm going to find that contact or that seller before anybody else even knows that they're thinking about it.
Yep. Yep. Love that.
Great information today, Dana. And remember, if you have a challenge, an opportunity, or a topic you'd like for Dana and I to talk about on this podcast, be sure and reach out to us at info@everything life in real estate. And remember, the greatest compliment you can give us is to think of someone in the business world, and especially in the real estate world, that you think would benefit from these conversations, and pass this podcast along. And if you haven't, be sure and hit the button subscribe below so that you can hear of our upcoming guests and upcoming topics. So Dana, I'm super excited. I'll see you next week at the Leadership Academy.
Yep. I'll see you then.
Be sure to subscribe for more business strategies and tactics to inspire you to live an abundant real estate life. Don't forget to rate and review so we can bring you the best content. Find this and other valuable information at everythinglifeandrealestate.com.